What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Busta channel. Salute to everybody tuned in. Let's get into this breaking story because things are looking messy right now. According to TMZ, Justin Bieber and Usher reportedly got into a heated altercation at an Oscars afterparty, and that's not something you hear about every day.
Usher and Justin Bieber got into it at an Oscars afterparty hosted by Beyonce and Jay-Z, and TMZ has learned things got heated. Sources connected to Justin tell TMZ Usher approached him at the party with what they described as energy and anger, and the two got into a heated exchange. The sources say although there was no physical contact, it was intense. TMZ's reached out to Usher's camp to see if they have a consistent story, but we have not heard back. We're told Justin's been trying to erase everyone in his past, and one source connected to JB told us he's always been rude to Usher. Still, it's unclear what the argument was about, though we're told it didn't drag on. With Beyonce and Jay-Z hosting, the guest list was insane. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Michael B. Jordan, Tiana Taylor, Kris Jenner, Kylie Jenner, and that's just to name a few. And of course, Justin's wife, Hailey Bieber, was in attendance. As of right now, it is unclear if the cops were called. As a die-hard believer, I'm really sad about this. Usher and Justin have been longtime friends. Let us know what you guys think about this.
Usually, drama like this pops off at events like the BET Awards or maybe the MTV Awards, but the Oscars? That's a different level. Now, this situation is raising eyebrows for a reason. People are calling it intense, and it's not just some random disagreement either. There's history here that makes everything feel a lot deeper. Over the past few months, during all the talk surrounding the Diddy trial, both Usher and Justin Bieber kept getting mentioned. People were bringing up old stories, old connections, and asking serious questions about what may have happened behind the scenes.
Man, favorite part of the Oscars tonight? I think the categories that I'd hope would be recognized in the right fashion and the right people, being recognized. That's what made me happy. For cinematography, for Sinners, for Sean Penn, for the short documentary, for costume design, for documentary. I feel like everybody really got recognized. I was really happy to be in the room to see Ryan Coogler have his moment and Michael B. Jordan have his moment. I was very happy about that.
A lot of folks remember those videos and conversations about Bieber being around Diddy back in the day, especially when he was really young and just getting famous. And let's not forget, Usher, who was a mentor to Bieber at one point, is the one who introduced him into that circle. That alone has people looking at this whole situation sideways. Now, fast forward to more recent times. Justin Bieber reportedly unfollowed Usher a few months ago. That move didn't go unnoticed, and now with this altercation being reported, it's got people connecting the dots real quick. Something clearly shifted, and now it's all starting to bubble up in public. There's a lot going on here, and people are definitely talking. There's a lot going on here, and not everyone wants to acknowledge Usher's role in how Justin Bieber ended up in those circles. But let's be real, something happened and something still feels off. Why would these two suddenly clash like this? Was it as simple as Usher not liking that Bieber unfollowed him, pulling up to question him, and Bieber snapping back? That kind of tension doesn't just come out of nowhere. And think about it, they haven't really been seen around each other like that in a long time. Sure, there are old photos of them sitting courtside looking cool, but that was years ago. It doesn't seem like they've been on good terms for a while now, and that distance says a lot. When people who were once close start moving like strangers, there's usually a deeper story behind it. Now, people are definitely speculating, and theories are flying everywhere, but let's keep it clear. I don't have proof or inside info about what really went down behind the scenes. Still, you can't ignore how strange this whole situation feels. Out of all places, an Oscars afterparty is where this blows up. That alone has people raising questions. And this is why some are connecting it back to the bigger picture. Both names have been brought up in conversations tied to that whole Diddy situation. And now this happens? Not saying anything is confirmed, but the timing and the tension got people looking at this sideways. I'm talking about the people who were covering everything. They kept bringing up the same names over and over. Y'all already know who they are. The same creators and commentators speaking on Diddy kept mentioning Justin Bieber and Usher in the same breath. That connection didn't just come out of nowhere, and people haven't forgotten that. Now, when you look at Justin Bieber's life lately, it actually seems like he's been moving a lot calmer. He's been putting out music, staying low, and not really getting caught up in drama like before. So it's hard to sit here and say he's spiraling or anything like that, because we really haven't been hearing much negativity about him until now. And that's why this situation feels so sudden and unexpected. So let's get into what's being reported. TMZ says Usher and Justin Bieber got into it at an Oscars after-party hosted by Beyonce and Jay-Z. That means this went down at a Rock Nation type event, a high-level industry gathering where everybody's supposed to be cool and collected. But instead, things allegedly turned tense real quick. Now here's where it gets even wilder. Some people are saying the situation didn't just stay verbal. They're claiming it may have turned into a fist fight between the two. You see that? And there are still folks out here trying to say nothing happened. That doesn't really add up. And listen, a lot of people like to question TMZ, but let's be honest, they've got sources everywhere. That's how they break these stories and get footage others can't. They're deeply connected in Hollywood, and that's how they stay ahead of the game. According to sources connected to Justin, they told TMZ that Usher approached Bieber at the party with clear anger and strong energy, and that's when everything escalated into a heated exchange. Something serious must have been said for it to go left like that. Now this is where it really starts to feel strange. Usher isn't known for being confrontational like that. He's usually calm, smooth, and stays out of drama. But there was that rumor a while back, y'all remember, when people were saying Chris Brown punched Usher. That story was everywhere for a minute. Supposedly, it had something to do with a situation involving Teyana Taylor, and Usher was trying to step in and calm things down. And somehow, it turned into him getting hit. Then, just like that, the story faded away.
But now TMZ is saying this situation with Bieber may have turned physical too. You're talking about Usher, a man in his 40s, possibly getting into a fight with his former protege? That alone sounds wild. And yeah, people say Usher isn't soft and can defend himself, but still, why would it even get to that point with someone he helped guide early on? It doesn't seem like money would be the issue either. Usher is well established, doing just fine financially. So if it's not about money, then what is it really about? That's the question that keeps coming up. Now here's where the stories start to clash. Sources connected to Justin Bieber are saying there was no physical fight at all, just a very intense verbal exchange. So one side is saying fists were flying, and the other side is saying it never got physical. That's a big difference. TMZ also said they've been trying to reach Usher's camp to get his side, but so far, no response. And then this detail right here really caught attention. There are claims that Justin has been trying to distance himself from people in his past. One source even said he's always been rude to Usher. That's a strong statement. And that raises even more questions. Why would someone act like that toward a mentor who helped shape their career? Something deeper has to be behind that kind of tension. Why would you be rude to someone who gave you such a major cosign in the first place? That's what doesn't sit right. Usher played a huge role in helping Justin Bieber step into a different lane. Yeah, Bieber had that pop image early on, but he was also leaning into that R&B sound, and Usher's backing gave him real credibility in that space. That wasn't small, that was a big deal. So when you hear claims that Bieber is trying to distance himself from people in his past, it makes you wonder what could be driving that. What makes someone start cutting ties like that? Could it be connected to certain people and situations he no longer wants linked to his name? Some are questioning if anyone tied to that past circle is getting pushed away, including Usher. And if that's the case, you have to think about how that might hit Usher. If he feels like someone he helped is now avoiding him or shutting him out, that could definitely create tension. Maybe he tried to reach out, maybe he wanted a conversation and Bieber wasn't open to it. That kind of silence can build frustration over time. That's why this situation feels like there's more underneath the surface. It doesn't look like something that just came out of nowhere. Now, as for the actual argument, it's still unclear what exactly set things off. Reports say it didn't last long, but with the kind of event this was, there were plenty of big names around who could have seen it all go down. We're talking about a guest list packed with celebrities, Beyonce and Jay-Z hosting, and names like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, Teyana Taylor, Timothée Chalamet, Kylie Jenner, Austin Butler, Jacob Elordi, Emma Stone, Emma Watson, Kendall Jenner, Megan Fox,
all reportedly in attendance. That's a room full of witnesses, and people were watching closely. And the guest list didn't stop there. You also had Kris Jenner, Sofia Vergara, Vin Diesel, Jon Batiste, Glenn Powell, Chloe Bailey, Vanessa Bryant, Natalia Bryant, and even Justin's wife Hailey Bieber was in the building. That's a packed room full of major names, which makes this whole situation even more intense. This wasn't some low-key event. This was one of the biggest rooms you could be in. The last time Justin and Usher were really seen together like that was back in 2022, out in Idaho. That's years ago now, which just adds to the idea that there's been distance between them for a while. Now, here's where the conversation gets deeper. Some people believe everything circles back to that whole situation involving Diddy, because if not that, then what's really causing this kind of tension? From the outside, it looks like Justin may just want space from certain parts of his past. Maybe he's trying to move different and separate himself from old connections that bring up complicated memories. And if that's the case, it could explain a lot. If someone is trying to create distance and the other person feels that shift, it can lead to frustration real fast. Maybe Usher just wants things to be normal in those spaces. No awkward energy, no issues. But if emotions are already high, approaching someone with visible frustration can make things escalate quick. At the end of the day, you also have to consider where Justin Bieber is mentally and personally right now, because that plays a big role in how situations like this unfold. Justin Bieber is someone who's clearly been through a lot, and that's something people have watched play out over the years. There are layers to his story that the public may never fully understand, and some things probably happened behind the scenes that never came out. But even with all that, the main question still stands. Why did it even get to the point where he and Usher would clash like this at all?
When you look at everything being said, some believe that all the recent conversations and attention around that Diddy situation may have pushed Bieber to distance himself from certain people. Not saying anything is confirmed, but it does look like he might be trying to separate from parts of his past that bring up uncomfortable memories. And if Usher is someone tied to that chapter in his life, that could explain why there's been a shift in how Bieber moves. At the same time, you've got to recognize, Justin Bieber is a grown man now. He's allowed to decide who he wants around him and who he doesn't. If he feels like creating distance, that's his choice at the end of the day. Not every relationship is meant to stay the same forever, especially when people grow and change. But here's the issue. If someone is clearly trying to keep space, approaching them with aggressive energy is only going to make things worse. According to reports, that's exactly how this situation may have started, and that kind of approach usually leads straight to conflict. No matter how you look at it, forcing a conversation or pressing someone who isn't open to it rarely ends well. And if emotions were already high, it's no surprise things escalated the way they did. At the end of the day, coming at someone with that kind of energy is only going to make you look bad. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. If the approach is off, the situation is going to spiral every single time. And from everything being reported, this whole moment could have been avoided if things were handled differently. When I look at the situation, it still feels like there's a deeper connection behind it all. A lot of signs keep pointing back to shared history and certain past associations that may not sit right anymore. Whether people want to admit it or not, those connections can leave a lasting impact, and sometimes distance is the only way someone feels they can move forward. And if Justin Bieber is at a point where he's choosing peace over old ties, that's his decision. People grow, people change, and sometimes they outgrow relationships that once meant everything. That doesn't always come with closure either, and that's where tension can start building. But stepping into someone's space with frustration or anger isn't going to fix anything. It just adds more pressure to an already complicated situation, and that's when things explode in public like this. Now, I want to hear what you think about all of this. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think there's more going on behind the scenes, or is this being blown out of proportion? Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, and follow for more updates.